Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm 8. Thank you for joining Keeping It Simple. I hope you guys enjoy.
Today's lesson is God's free health plan.
That's embarrassing.
Why?
Because I'm weird.
Be like, nobody is beating my streak. I'm picking my nose. I'm the best.
And
Wait,
then people
are we
like,
live?
and people like,
People are like, yeah.
she's how old is your picks her nose?
Yeah, gross.
I don't pick my nose.
Okay, so today's lesson is God's free health plan. And it says right here, will work for food. So what do you think we're going to talk about this time?
Eating healthy.
What God wanted us to wants us to eat and we're not to eat.
Yep, but there's probably a little bit more too. Because healthy is not just about eating, right?
Mentally.
Yeah, what you're putting in your bodies, what you're putting in your minds, everything. Like your whole everything, okay? So, God's free health plan. It says, great medical care is priceless, but wouldn't it be great if we didn't need doctors anymore? Did you know there is a proven way to put a lot of doctors out of work? Take care of your body. Scientists have sounded the ominous warnings about cholesterol, tobacco, stress, obesity, and alcohol. So why press your luck? Hospitals and psychiatric institutions are packed with people who have ignored the warnings. Do you really want to join them? God truly cares how you treat your body, and He's given you a free health plan and a manual to go by, the Bible. For amazing facts about how you can have abundant health and longer life, look over this study guide, but be sure to read it all before jumping to conclusions. Okay? So, question 1. Are health principles really a part of true Bible religion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It says right here in 3 John chapter 2, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health just as your soul prospers. So it says, yes, in fact, the Bible rates health right near the top of the list in importance. Man's mind, their spiritual nature, and body are all interrelated and interdependent. What affects one affects the other. If our bodies are misused, our minds and spiritual natures cannot become what God ordained them to be. So what did it say? What affects one affects the other. So what do you think that means?
Like, let's say you're eating unhealthy, that means
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know.
How can that affect your mind?
Well,
It makes you think weird and crazy.
Well, yeah, because you're putting all these different chemicals from the food that you're eating into your body, right? And you start maybe thinking weird, or like a perfect example is eat a whole bunch of candy before you go to bed, right? Usually you have not a good sleep, maybe bad nightmares, or maybe you wake up throwing up or something crazy, right? Because one affects the other. What about just sitting around watching commercials all day about food? How does that affect your body? Huh?
Makes you want to eat.
Makes you want to eat, right? But eat all those bad foods. And also, you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing. So, you putting that crazy stuff in your mind affects your body too. So, one messed up messes up everything else. So, you want to keep your mind clean and your body clean. Why did God give health rules to His people?
because God has it, like, all the certain animals to do certain things, and then like what God wanted to make sure, like,
What is the main thing that God does for us?
protect it.
No?
No.
Wash away.
Love us. That's the biggest thing that God does for us is He loves us, right? Does He love you? right? So what is he going to try to do if he loves you? Take care of you, protect you, right? So he's like, hey, just like mom and dad say, hey, don't eat pork. And why do we say that? To protect you. Not just because we don't like it and we shouldn't, we don't eat it, so we tell you don't eat it. Hey, we don't eat it and we tell you don't do it because to protect you. Why do we say don't drink or don't do drugs or things like that? It's to protect you. To protect you, to protect your body, to protect your mind, to protect everything. So that's what God did. God is like, hey, he's the one that put that in us. And he's like, hey, I'm putting these down in the Bible so that you can read it and see, hey, don't be drinking. Don't be doing these crazy drugs. Don't be eating this crazy food. Don't be thinking these crazy thoughts. You know, because he's trying to protect you. It says, and the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive. And that's in Deuteronomy 6:24. So you shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless you, or he will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. And that's in Exodus 23:25. So in the Bible, he tells you, hey, follow what I'm telling you to do. I'll stop you from being sick. Follow what I tell you to do, and I'm going to preserve your life. And we're not just talking about life here, because, yeah, he's going to help us preserve our life here, but where else? In heaven, right? So God is just trying to help you not be sick. Do you know we can all avoid like things like diabetes, like Auntie has, high blood pressure, and cholesterol, obesity, which means being like super overweight. Like we can avoid all those things. All we have to do is follow the plan that God says. And he's not trying to take the fun out of it. But if you think about it, when Adam and Eve were alive, when they were first made, what did they eat? Fruits, some grains, nuts. They didn't even really eat vegetables, just fruits and nuts and some grains. They didn't eat animals at all. And how are they doing? Pretty good, right? Pretty good. Now, after they sinned, God allowed certain foods, but he knew already what foods not to eat. And it's clear why when you start thinking about it. And he even tells you. So God gave health rules because he knows what is best for the human body. Automobile manufacturers place an operation manual in the glove compartment of a car. So every time you buy a new car, the people who make it, they take a book, a manual, and they put it in the car. So that when you buy the car, you get the book, and you're like, okay, what is this car supposed to do? And you open it and read it. What happens when you get a new phone? Comes with instructions, right? What happens when you get new toys? Comes with instructions, right? Tells you what you should do, what not to do, and all of that. So this is the same thing. God made us, and then he's like, hey, you want to know, just read this instruction manual. It will tell you what to do, what not to do, how to take care of your body, and all of that same stuff. But we avoid reading this. We'll read the instructions for a new cell phone, but we won't read instructions on how to take care of ourselves, which is crazy, right? Number 3, do God's health rules have anything to do with eating and drinking?
Yes.
Of course, we know that, right? So it says in Isaiah 55:2, eat what is good. Therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God. So why do we pray before we eat? To thank him for what we got, right? But also to bless the food, to make sure like if there is anything bad in the food, that God is protecting us from it. That's why we ask him to bless the food. We're not just saying, hey, bless this food because we're just saying thanks for giving us the food. Yeah, we're saying thanks for that, but we're also asking him like, hey, bless this and make sure that whatever's in it, not harmful, takes care of us and what we need. That's why we do that. So, yes, a Christian will even eat and drink differently, all to the glory of God, using only that which is good. If God says a thing is not fit to eat, he must have a good reason. He is not a harsh dictator, but a loving father. All his counsel is for our good always. No good thing will he withhold from those who walk uprightly. So if God withholds a thing from us, it is because it is not good. So if God is telling you, do not eat it, then we should not eat it. When was the first time he said that? When did he, who did he say it to?
To Adam and Eve.
To Adam and Eve, right? And he said, hey, eat everything you want except for from this tree. They had a bunch of stuff they could have ate. A ton of stuff they could have ate. The one thing he said don't eat, and they ate. And what happened?
Punished.
It fell apart, right? They got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. You know, they had to now struggle and work for their food and plant it and grow and things like that when they didn't have to do all that before. So doing the things opposite of what God tells us to do leads to what? Punishment, destruction, death, everything bad. So if God is saying don't do it, we should be like, hey, just don't do it. If mom and dad say, hey, don't do it, then what? Just don't do it. Do we always understand? No, we don't. Because right now people have a hard time. You know with what? Pork. Pork is the hardest thing for people to stop eating. Why?
It's so good.
Because it tastes so good, right?
And it's the cheapest one.
And it's cheap. And it's on everything. You can get it everywhere.
You can eat it sweet,
You-
salty.
There's so much you can do with it. It's in almost everything that's out there. That's sin. That's how sin works. Sin is so good. It feels so good. But it's bad. And usually the things that are make you feel like that are no good for you. It's just like, would you eat poop covered in chocolate? No, of course not. You're like, ugh, who would do that? That's terrible. But what do you think pork is? It's the same thing. What do pigs eat? Everything. And when you say everything, what does that include?
Poop.
Yeah. They eat their own vomit. They eat their own poop. They eat people. They eat whatever you give them. They're the earth's like garbage disposals. Just like our garbage disposal. What does it grind up?
It's funny because that
Everything.
cartoon, one of those cartoons,
Flintstone?
yes, they use a pork. They better use a pig for the garbage disposal.
Yep. They use a pig for the garbage disposal on the Flintstones. Because that's what they do, And nothing against pigs, but it's just something we're not supposed to eat. Because just like it said, it affects our minds and our bodies. It affects the other, right? So we're putting that in there and we don't know what that pig ate. Pigs are made for that. They're made to just digest whatever. We're not made to just digest whatever. God made us all with specific purposes. We're not made to just eat whatever and our bodies digest it. That's why sometimes when we eat stuff and we gain weight, it doesn't go away because we never digested it right. That's why sometimes when you get make your stomach feel sick from something you ate or whatever, because we were not made to be eating all that kind
Or
of
beef.
stuff.
Don't they say beef takes a long time for your body to
It
process
takes a long time for your body to process it. And there's some people like way back in the day who've died and they do autopsies on them and check their intestines, and their intestines are just filled with just like bad stuff. All that stuff that just didn't get processed in their intestines. And it's just, and sometimes you find like pounds of it inside of people. And you're like, that's why he was huge. Look at all that stuff in his intestines. That means you're not pooping right. That means your body's just,
all the cancer and stuff comes.
yeah, because your body's like, I can't digest this. What are you doing to me? So your body just shuts down. So you got to be careful. And that's why Dad is careful. I know it's weird because I'm just like vegetables and this and that and this, but I start thinking about it. Look at people in my family and what's going on with their health. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. If I do that, I'm going to end up the same way. So I got to do it different. So less of what I know is bad for me and more of what I know is good for me. It says, note, no person can eat his way into heaven. Eating even the food of angels will not entitle people to paradise. So what it's saying is, one of the things that we've been learning is, what can you do to get to heaven? Any special things you can do to get to heaven? Like being nice to people or healing people or things like that? No? How do you get to heaven? Following God, right? Believing in Jesus, following Jesus and God, and that's it. Okay? It's saying, hey, don't be confused. Just because you don't eat pork and you only eat the things God says eat doesn't automatically mean, okay, well, yeah, you were a liar and a thief, but, you know, you ate all the vegetables, so you get to go to heaven. Right? No. So it's saying don't be confused by what that means. What it's saying is, hey, this is included in the things that God is saying to do to follow him. Okay? Number 4, what did God give people to eat when he created them and provided a perfect diet? Do you guys know?
No.
So in Genesis, it tells you exactly what they were allowed to eat when they first were made. In Genesis 1:29 and 2:16, it says, and God said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, every tree whose fruit yields seed. Of every tree of the Garden of Eden you may freely eat. So most of the things that they ate had seeds. And why do you think it had seeds?
Because it can regrow.
Exactly. What does God want us to do when we go out and talk to people? What are we doing?
Spreading.
Planting seeds. Right?
Yeah.
And then who grows them?
He did.
God does. You see how that matches? You see how that goes together? Hey, eat the stuff that has the seeds in it. You may freely eat of it. Oh yeah, by the way, go out there and talk to people and plant the seed of God in all of them. God planted in all of us. We were seeds. Even the Bible tells you, like in one of the Proverbs about the farmer who's throwing the seeds out there and what happens when it falls in certain places, right? So this is all, it all ties in together of what God is trying to get us. So what does that remind us about his word?
It's true.
It's true, and it what? It don't change, and we can trust it, right? Because the Bible makes sense. It backs itself up all the way through. You can't read this part and then the next part and you're like, wait a minute, you said in chapter 2 we couldn't do this. Now chapter 3 we can do this? It doesn't say that. If it says it in chapter 2, it's going to say it in chapter 22, chapter 52, all the way through. In the beginning, the diet God gave people was fruit, grains, and nuts. Vegetables were added a bit later. Okay, what items specifically mentioned by God as being unclean and forbidden? Do you guys know? There's certain foods that he said do not eat. Specifically, he said. Well, we know one. Pork. He tells you. But this is how he says it. He doesn't say don't eat pork. The Bible doesn't say don't eat pork. It says it specifically like this. And we can read this from the Bible because it tells you in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, it gives you a long list of exactly what God says eat and don't eat. So, all animals which do not have a split hoof and chew the cud. Okay, so what is cud? Do you guys know what cud is?
No.
Huh?
Nasty stuff.
No, cud is like what horses and cows chew. Like they chew grass, you know, and that's what they chew on, grains and grass and stuff like that. They call it cud. Okay, so it has to make sure that it chews the cud, and it has a split hoof. So what animals do you know have split hooves?
Cow.
Cows, sheep.
Goat.
I think goats do. But there's certain animals that chew cud and have split hooves. Those are the ones you can eat. It says all animals that do not have that don't eat. So what about, do horses chew cud? Yes. But what kind of hoof do they have?
They don't have a split.
They don't have a split hoof.
So what about turkeys and chickens and?
Wait, we're not there yet. We're just talking about the animals, this part of the animals first.
Oh, okay.
So that takes out pigs, right?
So they have to eat both. Oh, they have to eat.
They have to have both.
Yeah, I mean.
They have to have split hooves and chew cud. He said if they don't have both of those together, don't eat it.
Okay.
It has to be together, not one or the other, together. It says, all animals which do not have split hoof and chew cud, don't eat it. Okay? So pigs, do they have split hooves? No. So right there, he doesn't tell you why, but he says don't do it. And we know, like, okay, well, if dad says don't do it, then we don't do it. B, all fish and water creatures that do not both have fins and scales together. So, name something that doesn't have a fin and a scale together. Shrimp. Octopus. Catfish. And it's a fish. It has fins, but what is it missing? Scales. You know what catfish are? They're the pigs of the sea.
Yeah.
You know what catfish and shrimp eat? Anything at the bottom of the sea. And what falls to the bottom of the sea? Everything like what? Poops from other fishes and just all the trash, gross stuff all falls to the bottom of the sea. And crabs, lobsters, catfish, shrimp, they all walk around the bottom of the sea and eat things on the bottom. You ever seen one of those like sucker fishes? And you ever see like any shows where catfish are swimming? Catfish swim in like the dirtiest stuff, the dirtiest water, all that kind of stuff. They're just gross. But it's the same as pigs. You fry them up and cook them, they taste delicious. But they're bad for you because of all the stuff they eat. So they're down there on the bottom just like, and then we grab it, slice it up. Delicious catfish, delicious shrimp. Dad is guilty of one of my favorite things used to be shrimp. Lobster, crabs. Man, you can give that to me every day. Everywhere we went, I would put shrimp on everything. Shrimp salad. Remember we used to have shrimp salads all the time? Yeah.
Have me do is crab legs with butter.
Yep.
Garlic and butter.
All the time. I used to eat all that stuff all the time. And then I was like, wait a minute. God says don't eat none of this. So I stopped. I just stopped because God said don't. So it says nearly all fish are clean because scales and fins together. That's how you know what to avoid. Somebody walks up and they're like, hey, you want some alligator? No. Why not? Because I don't eat alligator, bro. But it tastes so good. You just got to cook it right. Nah, I'm good. No scales and fins together, don't eat it. We eat a lot of what kind of fish? Salmon. But there's like bass, there's trout, tuna. Tuna's a good one. Tuna's a good one, baby. So these are things that God tells us to do to keep us healthy. That's why we're doing it here. Now you guys are learning why we don't eat certain things. Not just because mom and dad said, but it's because God said. So we're like, okay, well, we better tell the kids right now. It says birds. All birds of prey, carrion eaters, and fish eaters. We don't eat.
You eat birds.
We eat birds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We eat turkey and chickens. But do our chickens and turkeys birds of prey? What's a bird of prey?
Like
Hawks, eagles. Those are birds of prey because they go and they hunt, right? So, and what do they try to catch? Fish, little animals, right? So God is like, don't be eating those. And it says, it specifically says don't eat fish eaters. So you don't want to eat birds that eat fish. Do chickens and turkeys eat fish? No. What do they usually eat? Like corn and little vegetables and things like that, right? So we're like, okay, those are safe. But we know the rest of the birds, we can't be out here eating pigeons or none of that kind of stuff, right? Can't be doing that. Ducks are okay. They're not birds of prey. So a lot of people don't eat ducks, but they're super greasy.
Gross.
D. Most creeping things, also invertebrates, are also unclean. So what's an invertebrate?
People, animals don't have spine.
Yes. This is your vertebrae back here.
Backbone doesn't have the spine.
Huh?
Spiders?
Like creepy things. Snakes, frogs, snails.
Oh, people
All-
eat all that
Yes, and people eat all that stuff.
People eat snails.
And then what makes it even worse is they try to make the names fancy so that you feel fancy eating it. What are you eating? I'm eating escargot. Snails. That's all snails. That's all snails are. It's escargot. That's it. That's what that means.
Gross.
And people are just like scrubbing them up. It says most creeping things. So worms. People are out there eating worms. Oh, they're high in protein. Huh?
What?
So it's just chicken. Chicken's high in protein. Just eat the chicken, bro. Don't be eating worms. People cook frog legs all the time. There's parts of different states that's like a delicacy. Frog legs, fry them up, eat them. That's gross.
They're like all slimy and stuff.
Yeah, and God says don't do it.
Snake. Oh,
Snakes. Snakes are a big thing. People catch snakes and cook them and eat them. So, let's see. These chapters make it clear that most animals, birds, and water creatures people ordinarily eat are clean. There are, however, some very notable exceptions according to God's rules. The following animals are unclean and not to be eaten: cats, dogs, horses, camels, eagles, vultures, hogs, squirrels, rabbits, catfish, eels, lobsters, clams, crabs, shrimp, oysters, frogs, and many others. So there's a lot of stuff we shouldn't be eating. And all of that list of stuff, do people eat those?
Yeah.
Yes, and people eat those the most. This world does the most of what God says don't do. Everything now has shrimp in it or bacon in it. Everything. Okay, number 6. But I like pork. Will God destroy me if I eat it?
Yes.
And why, Sebastian?
Because you're not supposed to eat that and make your stomach feel.
Well, not just that, but what do we learn about what God asks us to do? You said it last time. If you're wrong in one thing,
You're wrong on the other.
you're wrong on everything. So you follow everything God tells you to do. You don't do this, and this, and this. But I eat pork.
Oof.
Are you following God? No, because what are one of God's commandments?
To obey his every.
Yeah. Not to have no other gods before him, right? You're supposed to be listening to him. Well, you're not if you're doing something he's asking you not to do. You can't say, I follow everything except this one thing. Then you don't follow everything. You can't say, I do all these good things, but you lie. Or I do all this stuff, but you steal. But I only steal little stuff. Doesn't matter, right? So, will God destroy me if I eat it? For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and by his sword the Lord will judge all flesh, and slain of the Lord shall be many. Those who sanctify themselves and purify themselves, eating swine's flesh and the abomination of the mouse shall be consumed together. This may be shocking, but it is true and must be told. The Bible positively states that all who eat swine's flesh, the mouse, and other unclean things that are an abomination will be destroyed with the fire. And why is that? Because it goes against what God asked you to do. It's simple. You go against God, it leads you to hell. That's it. Number 7. But didn't this law of clean and unclean animals originate in Sinai? Wasn't it for the Jews only, and didn't it end at the cross? So people ask that question a lot because there's things in the Bible that there's like certain stories that have happened, or people believe that when Jesus died that things changed after that, right? Remember, people are like, well, Jesus died, and since he rose on Sunday, that's the new Sabbath. Or Jesus died, so all the rules before Jesus are gone. But what do we learn? Did God say that?
No.
No? What did God say about his word?
It stays true.
It stays true, right? It never changes. Not one dot will change. Unless God said it, then it's not going to happen, right? So the Lord said to Noah, take with you 7, each of every clean animal, 2 each of animals that are unclean. So he was just telling him, when Noah put all those animals onto the ark, it wasn't because God's like, you can eat all these animals. What do you think it was for?
So that the animals can live.
Right, so they can repopulate the earth when the water went away, right? 1 male, 1 female, pairs. That's what he was like, 7 each of every clean animal, those are so that they can eat. And 2 each of animals that are unclean. Male and female reproduce. Right? So the clean ones they brought a lot of because he's like, hey, these are the ones you can eat, but save some so that they can repopulate. That's why he said bring 7. But God is always thinking about us, right? Because what if he was like, just bring 2 clean animals each? How many clean animals would have been left? None, because we would have ate them all on the ark. They would have ate them all up, right? But God is like, bring 7. So that gave them enough animals, which gave them enough food of the clean animals that they can eat during that time of the world being flooded. And when they came out, there was enough animals left to go back out and repopulate everything. How smart is God? Just thinking about everything that we wouldn't even thought of. I don't think we would have thought of that. Hey, bring some extra of the clean ones so we can eat and save some so they repopulate the earth. No, we'd have been in that. Then we would have got off the ark like, man, I could sure use some chickens. Too bad we ate them all and didn't even think to save any. So it says, no, indeed, the Bible has ample evidence that there were clean and unclean animals from the very dawn of creation. Number 8, does the Bible forbid the use of alcohol beverages?
Yes.
Do you think it tells you specifically not to drink alcohol?
Yeah, it does.
It does. God is so specific. Just like he was with the animals, don't eat this kind of animal. It's okay to eat this kind of animal. He's the same way with alcohol. In Proverbs especially, wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. Do not look on the wine when it is red and it sparkles in the cup, when it swirls around smoothly. At the last, it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. And that's in Proverbs 23, 31, and 32. Neither fornicators nor drunkards will inherit the kingdom of God. And that's in 1 Corinthians. It says, yes, the Bible clearly forbids the use of alcohol beverages. Specifically, right? It's like, what are one of the most things people say about something that they drink that's an alcohol beverage when they drink it? Oh, that goes down so smooth. Oh, it tastes so good. Or if you ever see somebody take a shot, what does it say in here? That it bites like a serpent. You ever seen somebody take a shot of like strong alcohol? What do?
They like make a face.
They're just like,
or like they take something to make the.
Yeah, because it burns, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just burns, and you're just like, But then what do? Do it again.
Do it again.
Like, man, that one didn't burn you enough. You're gonna do it again? Oh man. So God is like, hey, why would you do that to your own body? Why would you destroy your own body? You know what that's like? That's like,
Drinking super hot water and just let it.
no, it's like buying a house, a nice house, brand new. Nobody's ever lived in it. And every day you come into your house with a baseball bat and smash the walls for no reason. That's exactly what that is like, what we do to our bodies.
Oh yeah.
God is like, here, brand new body, it's healthy, it's perfect. And then you come in and you're like, smash! And then every day you just come in the house and just smash a wall, so the whole inside of the house looks terrible. So as the inside starts to look terrible, what happens to the outside? It starts to look bad, right? That's us. First, we start destroying our bodies inside. Then it affects us on the outside. So you're eating all that pork and stuff, and then what does it do to your body on the outside? Your skin gets oily, it makes you fat. It does all this stuff to you. You start getting all kind of crazy pimples. There's stuff that you eat and your hair falls out. There's stuff that you eat and you get, rashes or things like that. It's just terrible. And you're drinking and you're smoking and you're doing drugs. It starts making you black inside. On the outside, you start to look older than what you're supposed to look like. There are people that are like 20 that look 40. They smoke so much it messes up your skin. They got to put on makeup now to make themselves look younger because of what all the drugs and stuff have done to their bodies. So that's what. Don't smash your house. Don't beat up your own house. Okay. Number 9. Does the Bible condemn the use of tobacco and other harmful substances?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, the Bible gives 6 reasons why the use of tobacco and harmful substances are displeasing to God. So, the use of harmful substances injures health and defiles the body. Do you know that you are the temple of God and the Spirit of God dwells in you? We learned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We learned that God breathed what into us?
A piece of it.
Breath of life.
Right, the breath of life. So our body is a house that God has breathed himself into. And what are we doing to it?
Destroying it.
Yeah. So that's like me saying, hey guys, come into this brand new house. And then every day I just throw bombs inside the house while you guys are in there. And you're like, hey, we in here. Why would you do that? You're trying to kill us? You're trying to kick us out? No, you guys can stay. Well, how are we going to stay if you're blowing it up? How can God stay in you if you destroy yourself? He can't. He can't live in you. You're destroying the temple. People used to make those temples for God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Ark of the Covenant, right? And how did they make it? Wasn't the Ark of the Covenant super fancy?
Yeah.
Had all the best jewels, gold, everything. And who went in there? Hardly nobody was allowed to go in there. Right? Why? Because it's where God lived. The presence of God was there. So nothing unclean could go in there. Only certain people who were chosen to go in there could go in there. That's this. This body that we're walking around is the same thing. We should treat our bodies the same way as an Ark of the Covenant. Hey, God lives here. So nothing is allowed in here. That's how we're supposed to treat ourselves. But we don't. The Bible gives you specific examples and specific instructions on what it's talking about. If the Ark of the Covenant where the presence of God was and the 10 Commandments were there and nobody was allowed to go in there and make it unclean and defile it and make it dirty, well, isn't that what we are? Right? Mm-hmm. And we know for a fact that God breathed life into us, so a piece of him is in us. Why wouldn't we treat ourselves the same way? Right?
Right.
So nicotine, it says Romans 6:16 says that we become servants to whomever or whatever we yield ourselves to. So it says one of the commandments is you shall worship the Lord your God and only him you shall serve, right? So when we have things like alcohol, what happens with alcohol? You become what?
An alcoholic.
Yeah, but what is it called? Being an alcoholic is called having a what? An addiction.
Oh, addiction, yeah.
Right? And people who are addicted to stuff do what?
They keep
doing it over and over.
Yeah, but what do they do to do it over and over?
Crazy stuff.
Whatever they can do, right?
Right.
So what's at the top of their list? That addiction, right? Whether it's crack or sex or money or drugs or alcohol or food or whatever it is, they put that at the top of their priorities. So they spend all day doing what? Hunting it down, trying to get it. And what does one of the commandments say? You should have no God before me. Well, worshiping money or having those addictions are gods. That's a form of a god that we put before God. money, all that stuff. So God's like, don't put that stuff before me. And there's a few other examples on there of that stuff, but look at it, read the Bible, because it tells you specifically. What are some of the simple yet important health laws found in the Bible? Here are 11 health rules. Eat your meals at regular intervals and do not use animal fat or blood to like cook your stuff, or don't be drinking animal blood or none of that. You know, people used to use animal fat to cook.
Use?
Well, I mean, people still do.
What was it like? What's that one stuff like?
Lard. Lard is animal fat. Basically pig fat. And you
like tamales?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but that's what they use.
Yeah,
but mom was using vegetable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to like.
Yep.
Because it looks like
It looks the same, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, people used to use that. Animal fat, or I mean, I keep saying used to, but they still do. They use animal fat to cook their food. And God is like, hey, don't use animal fat to cook your food. And then we do it anyways. Don't overeat. And put a knife to your throat if you are a man given to appetite. So it's like, hey, don't be trying to eat everything. Your eyes see everything, right? And you want everything because you keep looking and looking and looking and looking. Are your eyes ever full from seeing? No. Your eyes can look all day if you let them. And everything you see, you want. So you have to be like, hey, I'll eat this much and stop. I was telling mom the other day how it's getting easier and easier for me to turn stuff down. You want this? No, I'm good. Easy. It's getting easier and easier. Do not harbor envy or hold grudges. So, what is one of the things God tells us we have to practice? Forgiveness. And the Bible tells you forgiveness is not for the other person. Who is it for?
You.
For you. What do you think harboring grudges and envy does to your body?
Just
Messes it up.
destroy you.
What do you say?
Messes it up.
Well, it does, but how? What is it called? Starts with an S.
Stress.
Stress. It stresses you out because you're holding all that anger, all that envy, all those bad things in your body. That destroys your body too. It messes with you here, messes with you here, and just holding all that stuff weighs you down. You ever notice that when you're mad, what do you get? Tired. You're just like, I'm so tired. Because you're mad, you're holding all this anger. It drains your body. When you're happy, do you feel tired? No. When you're happy, you're laughing, your body is producing all these good things, these good emotions. But when you're angry, your body's just like, and everything's tensing and tightening up because you're just so mad. People's brains have blood vessels that pop because they're so stressed, because they're so mad. I don't know if you guys ever seen it on TV shows, but a lot of like TV shows and movies, what happens when somebody's like yelling and so mad? What ends up happening?
Like they explode.
No,
No?
they have heart attacks. They'll be like, and I told you, you can't be done, and then they fall over because your body's not meant for that. Those are things that destroy you. Even when dad gets mad, it's terrible. I could have a heart attack anytime. Thankfully I didn't, but you can, because your body's so tense and so stressed, it doesn't know what to do with that, because it wasn't made for that. Maintain a cheerful and happy disposition. A merry heart does good like medicine. So be joyful, not letting the stress of the world get you down, watching Donald Trump and watching this and watching that and letting these people of the world stress you out. At the end of the day, we have a God who loves us, that's going to protect us, and we follow him. We don't have nothing to worry about, even if we died tomorrow. Right? So you're just like, you know, I ain't worried about nothing. Don't worry about it. Man, you see what Trump was talking about? Nah. You see what that lady said? Mm-mm. You don't care that they're out there doing that? I mean, I do care, but I'm not gonna stress myself out about it. For what? So I can just die over it and just walk around all day thinking about how crazy this world is? This world's gonna stay crazy until God comes back. Put all the trust in the Lord. Balance work and exercise with sleep and rest. Dad had a bad habit of doing what?
Not resting.
Not resting and doing what? Overworking. And not exercising.
What
Dad
happened
didn't.
earlier?
Dad.
Go take a nap. Go
Yeah,
take a nap.
and I didn't take a nap. And I didn't. But you know what else Dad will do? And you guys see me do it sometimes? What will I do?
Why do you automatically?
What will I do? What happens sometimes you're like, hey, where's Dad? Where am I?
In the gym.
Sleeping.
Oh.
Sometimes I just come home and go to bed. Because I know, I'm like, I didn't take a nap, I better just go to bed. When you don't sleep enough, you get sick. When you don't rest, you get sick. It happens because your body doesn't have time to rest and produce the things that it does naturally to fight off diseases.
That's why mom says to go to get a nap when you're sick or when I'm sick.
To let your body rest so that it can start producing what it needs to produce to help you fight off whatever's going on with you. But if you never rest, happened to Dad years ago. He wasn't even born yet. And I was working so much, and then my body just one day, it just shut down. I was so sick. I was so sick. I couldn't get up, nothing. I was just like, my body was like, I'm done. I can't help you. But now Dad has to be thinking different here. Hey, I gotta eat better. I gotta rest. And I gotta exercise. So now my whole body and everything feels so different. Even when I got sick this last time, after it was over, like my body fought like it was supposed to fight, and after it was over, I was like, bing,
Looks like nothing happened.
back up again, like nothing happened. So you gotta take care of it. It says, avoid anything harmful to the body. Be temperate in all things. What do you think that means, be temperate in all things?
Like, watch out what you're doing.
Well, kind of, but moderation. So that includes exercising, that includes all of that stuff. Hey, do those things, but do it in moderation. Don't go crazy.
Like overdo it.
Huh?
Like overdo it.
Yeah, don't overdo it.
Overeating.
Don't overeat, but don't over exercise yourself. Don't overexert your body. Or don't go to the point where, you know, you're overdoing something and it starts to hurt you.
Yeah, I saw a commercial about a guy who the commercial said that the guy was exercising too much. He actually got sick.
You get a heart attack. There's also such thing as like, is water good for you? Yeah, but you can over drink water and drown yourself. You can do that. There's a specific amount. So God is like, hey, just, you know, hey, these healthy things, but be careful, right? Make meal time a happy time. Help those who are in need. So stop thinking about yourself so much and go help somebody else. When you stop thinking about yourself so much, you don't stress as much. You start to look at your life way, way different. So these are all things that God is like, hey, this is a specific list of how to take care of your body, of how to make your situation better. It even says, caffeine harms the body. Soft drinks that contain addictive drug caffeine and other harmful ingredients are positively damaging to the body, to the human body. None of these contain food value except through the sugar and cream added. And most of us already use too much sugar. Stimulants give a dangerous artificial boost to the body and are like trying to carry a ton in a wheelbarrow. The popularity of these drinks is due to the flavor and advertising, but to the dose of caffeine they contain. Many Americans are sickly because of their addictions to coffee, tea, and caffeinated soft drinks. This delights the devil and wrecks human lives. So one of Dad's favorite things was what? Huh?
Rads.
No. What kind of drinks?
Energy drinks.
Energy drinks. Have you seen me drink them in a long time?
Not since after you got sick.
Nope. No more energy drinks. And Dad hardly drinks pop. It's super rare.
Don't look at me.
But even the doctor just told you what?
Not to drink too much.
No,
Not to drink at all.
not to drink it at all. Don't be lying on that doctor. Don't drink it too much. The doctor was like, don't drink that stuff. It's bad for you. And your mom was like,
Just one.
she said just one a year. That's it.
Right. Didn't say one a year.
Why could it do one a year?
But I keep telling him, I've been telling your mom, you gotta stop drinking those pops so much. Even when you guys are like, hey Dad, I was like, what do you guys want to eat? And you're like, hot Cheetos and this and this. And what I say? Nah.
You don't exercise.
Nope. I'm like, you guys don't even exercise. So you're just putting all this bad stuff in your body and it's hurting you. And Dad is like, nope, I'm not going to be helping you to hurt yourself. That's why I didn't get it. And you're like, some ginger ale. Well, I'm like, no. Start drinking more water. Exercising more. Okay. But no, I can't watch you guys do that. That's why. Number 11. What solemn reminder is given to those who ignore God's rules? What's the reminder?
Didn't die.
Yeah. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that also he will reap. Right? If you plant bananas or apples, what are you going to get?
Apples.
Apples. If you plant things that go against God, what are you going to get?
Bad things.
Bad things. Death. What's the opposite of God? Hell. It's simple. Are you saving up your money to go to hell? Or trying to get to heaven? Right. So, don't be fooled. Number 12. What fearful, shocking truth about health involves our children and grandchildren? So here's a picture right here. And it shows a kid, and he's sitting next to maybe Dad and his buddy or something like that. And what are Dad and his buddy doing? Drinking. And what is the kid doing? Watching. Right? You think I don't know that you guys watch me? Yeah. You think your mom doesn't know that you guys watch? Yeah. You know why I don't drink and smoke?
Then we do it. Can we watch you?
No, not just that. Because my mom told me. My mom said don't do it. And you know what? I didn't do it. You know why? Because I never seen my mom do it. I watched my mom. Now my stepdad, yeah, he drank and smoked cigarettes and did all that. But it was my mom who said, don't do it. And I was watching her and she never did it. So I never did it. Even to this day, I don't even have the desire to do it. But I watched my mom as a kid. Just like you guys watch me. Remember when we went to that t-shirt place and what did you see?
A bunch of crazy people.
Bunch of crazy people because they were all what?
Drinking.
Drinking. And they were acting a fool and saying terrible stuff. And I was looking at you and I was like, see? That's why Dad doesn't do it. Because that's how you look. Foolish. And you have no respect for anything. As an adult, you're supposed to have respect for kids in the room. You don't talk bad. You don't cuss. You don't do all that stuff. They didn't have no respect for the kid in the room, right? Because they were just saying whatever. No respect at all. You shall not eat it, that it may go well with you and your children after you. Deuteronomy 12:25. So God is like, it goes good with you, but it also goes good with your children who watch you. You pass down the bad habits of what you have to your children. So, do you think Auntie Tiffany ever drank or smoked? Yes. Auntie Kristen? Yes. Auntie Casimira? Yes. And it was because They may not believe it, but they watched. So they did. Now they may not do it anymore. Like Auntie Tiffany doesn't do it now.
Yeah.
But she used to. And she stopped.
Yeah. I never saw my dad drinking, but my brothers drink. Is that like, that's, I feel like that's the choice, that's where we have our choice of doing it.
Just because you didn't see your dad
But
drink.
we did see our grandfather drink.
Yeah.
And
But did
my
your dad
mom-
drink?
Once in a blue moon.
And who did he drink with?
I don't know.
He never drank with your brothers?
No, he never did. Not when they were young. Maybe when they started getting old, like when Alex got married or whatever. Yes. But
They saw it somewhere.
well, like I was saying, we lived with my grandfather lived with us, and we always saw him drinking while my dad was out working. So like, my mom would always say, grandfather is like the man of the house because dad is gone.
Right. But at the end of the day,
And we
like
will
you said,
always see.
we have a choice, right? But God is saying, yeah, we all have a choice, but put it so that your kids have a better choice, right? Because they're watching. You guys have less of a chance of doing that stuff because you're in a household with people who don't do it. And you have a chance to see what it's like for people who do it. I know sometimes you think like, man, I want to try that. I know Buki thinks that when she sees her friends or she hears about it or whatever. It's natural to think about it. Like, oh man, it sounds like they're having fun or whatever. Dad and mom don't do any of that stuff. Oh, they're boring. It's not that we're boring. It's that we're avoiding things that we know will destroy you. And sometimes those little small things that we do lead to bigger things. Oh, you just start off like, oh, I just ate one of these little things that had some stuff in it. And now all of a sudden you're smoking crack on the street. So it happens. You don't want to let that kind of stuff in ever. So God is asking us to set a good example for you. That's what God is asking. Hey, help them make a better choice. Now at the end of the day, you guys are going to choose whatever you choose. But I'm not going to be the one responsible for helping you choose something bad. You know what I mean? So that's what God is asking from us. It says, I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon their children to the third and fourth generations. So God says he's visiting the iniquity of the fathers. So basically, he's that are upon the children. So he's basically visiting and seeing all the bad things that we put on you guys. And he's mad about it. It's like, man, why did they teach him that? That's terrible. It's a bad example. Number 13. What more fearful, sobering fact does God's word reveal? There shall be no means enter it anything that defiles. He's talking about heaven. But as for those whose hearts follow the desire for the detestable things and their abominations, I will recompense their deeds on their own heads, says the Lord, their God. So basically, he's saying, hey, keep doing those things that I'm telling you are bad for you, and you'll die. You're going to have to pay for those sins. Now, we know Jesus came to do what?
Save us.
Save us. So he took on all those sins so that we don't have to do it. So that we don't have to die for it, but also so we have a chance. Hey, I don't have to sin. Jesus took care of it already, so stop sinning and just follow God. And God's like, if you don't, if you decide to take those sins upon you, then you'll have to pay for them. If you go into the store and you have a shopping cart full of stuff, and I say, hey, give me that cart, I'll pay for it. But don't put anything else in the cart. Just stay with me. We're going to go all the way to the cashier, and I'm going to pay for everything. But along the way, you stop. And you're like picking up all this stuff. Picking up everything, picking up everything, picking up everything. You don't have no money. And picking up everything. You're just carrying all this stuff. And I have your shopping cart, and I'm making my way to the front. And then it's time for you to ring up. You ain't got no money. You got to pay for that. You got to now. That shawarma cut I had, I'm paying for that for you. All you have to do is stick with me. But you decided to go off on your own, and now guess what you got to do? You got to pay for it yourself now. You want to pay for your sins? What happened when Jesus paid for our sins? He died on the cross and was separated from God. So God is like, hey, do you want that? Is that what you want? No. But that's what we're saying when we're doing the opposite of what God asked. Like, yes, God, please give me those sins back. I'll pay for them. It's okay. I got it. No. If God said, I got it, guess what? Okay, cool. Whew, I ain't got to pay for it. I'm good. Number 14. What should every sincere Christian endeavor to do at once? What should we do at once?
Follow.
Immediately stop and go and start following God. Or should we wait till tomorrow? Got to do it today, right? When should we start eating clean?
Now.
Next month when I get my check. Or when I get a good job and I can afford good food, then I'll start eating good. No. When should you start doing it? Right now. No excuses. Who can we go to help us?
God.
God. Hey God, you know I'm struggling with money. Can you please give me some options of what I can get? Help me, lead me in the right direction so I can buy the food that is not going to kill me. Did you know that we look at commercials of fast food and what can you get for $4 at Wendy's?
Two of everything.
And what else? You know for $4 at Wendy's, for $3.99 or $4.99 you can get a sandwich, chicken nuggets, fries, and a drink. For $4? That's a lot of stuff. That's a meal, right? What can you get healthy for $4?
Nothing. Not even a water.
You can
Well,
get
maybe a water.
right, maybe a
And
water,
small
maybe
granola
some,
bar.
maybe a like a nice protein bar or something like that, or some granola snacks or something, right?
Okay.
All this healthy stuff is expensive. How much is stuff in Sprouts and Whole Foods? Expensive, right? The food that's supposed to be good for you. And the food that's bad for us is super cheap. So we're just like, but I only got $4. Turn to God. God, I only got $4. Point me to the direction where I can get full and make this $4 a healthy choice for me. Hey, there's rice and beans. Whew. Thank you, Lord. How long does rice and beans last? And you can get rice and beans cheap. Right? But what do we think? I don't want to just eat rice and beans.
Right.
I'm tired of eating those things.
I'm tired of eating that. I want that double bacon cheeseburger at Wendy's or McDonald's, and it's only $1. So then what do you go do? Get that double bacon cheeseburger. The devil's slick. The devil's super slick. He's like, all you got is $1? I got something for you for $1.
Make them.
And then, but what does everything that the devil come with? Everything that he gives us. Something else that hurts. Every time. But I'm worried because some of my evil habits have bound me so tightly. What can I do?
Turn to God.
As many as received him, to him gave he the power to become children of God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So how do you break bad habits?
God.
Go to God. Can you do it by yourself?
No.
No, we learned that already. We can do nothing without God. Nothing. What thrilling promises are given about God's new kingdom? What's going to be the biggest thing about being with God when he comes back?
Sadness.
And no more what?
And no more sin.
And no more sin and no more sickness. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, I'm sick or I'm near death or coronavirus. None of that's going to exist anymore. That's all gone. When Jesus comes back, that's it. Once sin is done with and he's burned it all up, Nobody's getting sick ever again. Ever again. We're going to be following God so much, none of that bad stuff for us is even going to be around. We're not even going to think about it. It's gone.
We're not even gonna know what it is.
We're not even going to know what it is. All we're going to know is God and follow God. He's going to break bread with us. And God is only going to give us the things that we need, that are good for us. Since healthy living truly is part of Bible religion, are you willing to follow God's health rules?
Yes.
So are you guys willing to eat more vegetables? Oh man, that was a terrible yes. Yeah, I guess, but I got to. You eat cucumbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Populated.
You eat
Yeah, I
vegetables.
eat carrots.
There you
You did not
go.
eat carrots.
Liar, you did not eat no carrots today.
Because I didn't eat it today doesn't mean I didn't.
Shut up.
But we gotta do it, right? We gotta start. You guys have to start making better food choices. You guys have to. I get on your mom's case sometimes because there's too much junk in the house. And I tell her not to bring it in the house. Because then we're all tempted to eat it. So, more healthy choices. Right? Try new stuff. Yeah, mushrooms and all that kind of stuff looks funny and weird or whatever, and it may not taste good right away. But start trying that stuff. That's what Dad had to do. I wasn't sure about tofu and all this other stuff for you, right? Alternatives from eating pork and all that stuff. But Dad tried it, and I seasoned it, and I kept trying it, and eventually I was like, man, it's not that bad. It's actually really good, and my body feels better for doing it. No more caffeine, no more sodas, no more, energy drinks, none of that stuff. Dad's been off of that stuff for a long time. You guys may not have noticed, but I have been. And I've gotten so much bigger and so much stronger. So much healthier. So we have to. We got to make better decisions. With what we do, what we watch, what we eat, who we hang around with, all that stuff. What do we learn about our bodies?
And they're a temple.
Yeah, but what do we learn most thing about it?
Keep it clean.
And why? Why are we keeping it clean?
Because God is living.
Exactly. Because that's where God lives. Because that's where God lives. Buki, what do you do to your room all the time?
Clean it.
And why do you clean it so much?
I sleep in it.
Because you're sleeping there. So why wouldn't you treat your body like that where God lives if he's so important to us? Keep it clean. Keep that room clean. Because you know who's living there. And that's it. Questions?